It's funny, the first show we did, or the second show we did, I got that email
Are you
from...
there?
Hello?
Hello. Good, you're on.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir. We can hear you fine.
Hi, I was just wondering, how do I get my hands on the harmonics?
Go to soundhealthproducts.com.
Pardon?
soundhealthproducts.com.
So, SOUNDHEALTHPRODUCTS.com.
Bingo.
And you can order them just over the internet.
That's right.
Now, what happens if they go to swingleandassociates.com? Is there a link
There's
to it there?
a link. Yeah.
All right. My suggestion is go to swingleandassociates.com and look for the link and prowl around. Can I ask why you want the harmonics? What is it for?
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Into the mic again.
Can I ask why you want the harmonics? What is the situation?
Well, I'm just a high school student in my final year of high school, and recently I've been finding I'm just a little bit more stressed and sometimes having a hard time focusing on my work and on my homework and stuff.
Do I know you? Are you a friend of Mitchell's?
Yes, I'm a friend of Mitchell's.
Okay, then that's how you're going to get hold of it, and I think I know who you are, and congratulations for watching and phoning in.
Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Because that's exactly what you gave to Peter, to let him concentrate. And it was amazing, because one shot, and what really there's a book out, I'm Not Lazy, Stupid, or what's the name of that book? I'm Not Lazy, Stupid, or...
Crazy, isn't it?
There's something else, I don't remember what it is, but it's a book for the kid with ADD. And most people out there, for ADD, most psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, people that deal with it, are only dealing with how to look after the family because they got this ADD son or this ADD daughter or an ADD father, I guess.
Yeah.
And you cure it. And that's what I remember you said. You said, I fix it. And you
when we're dealing with conduct disorders, that's where I think it really is an outrage because we're medicating behavior. And if you think about that, a child, you don't like the way a child's behaving, so you sedate that behavior. If you think of the extensions of that, they're pretty horrendous in terms of the implications associated with that mentality. And we know that normal kids' behavior is being sedated now simply because of the numbers of male children that are on psychotropic medications. And children that have oppositional defiance problems, the brain assessment really helps us to understand what's going on. There's a possibility the child has had a head injury, so the frontal cortex isn't working properly, so all of the regulators are not in place. They're impulsive. They get angry easily. It's possible they've had a traumatic or an ongoing trauma condition in which the oppositional behavior is defensive in nature, trying to get away from the parent or outside the family unit and so forth. There are brain patterns that are associated with oppositional behavior in a child. There's a discrepancy in the frontal cortex that's very identifiable. You can correct that. What they're doing now is they're giving these kids antipsychotic medications, sedatives, antidepressants, all kinds of crazy things. And it's just wrong, period. It's wrong to medicate behavior.
Are you using Firefox?
Amazing. So you can actually go in and again redesign the brain, reformat it, or make the person reformat it.
Yeah, normalize it. I think, just release some of the areas that are impeding the person's ability to get the brain into efficient functioning.
Well, what I like about the whole thing is that you, how do I put it? Don't use drugs. Although you will say if there's a particularly distressing thing, drugs may be good for 2 or 3 days or a week or some such thing. Is that correct?
Oh, I don't have a knee-jerk reaction against medication
right.
if they're used appropriately, and there are psychopharmacologists around here and psychiatrists and some primary care physicians who really know what they're doing with this stuff in terms of helping people over, bridging them over something so that they can start to function again. It's the dishing them out
Year
like
after
M&Ms.
year after year.
Oh, your child is, you can't tolerate your child. Well, let's sedate your child.
Yeah.
That's what's
and the
happening.
behavior that they're talking about with so many kids is that what they are doing is sort of acting like the explorers of. I mean, I've heard that Captain Cook likely had ADD and Einstein likely had ADD, and am I correct on that, or is that just a rumor?
I love to chat with a little kid. There's a particular form of ADD that gives rise to that kind of adventurous activity that can't sit still or all over the place. And I tell him, your genes probably came from the major hunters and explorers in the world, And when you talk to a child like that, it can have an enormous impact. I have an example in that book in which a little girl came in, and she had a particular form of ADD, but she also had very efficient frontal cortex. And I said to her, you had the frontal cortex of a rocket scientist.
Yes.
So she goes home. She tells everybody, Dr. Swingle said, I had the brain of a rocket scientist, went to school. Teachers called and said, well, what happened? We didn't, we did a little neurotherapy to fix the ADD issue, but it was unbelievable.
Well, you made a proud of yourself.
There's a self-esteem issue.
That's
right. In the book, I also talk about where we treated a kid and their behavior changed so markedly. And the statement that I make in there is if you fix self-esteem, you fix everything.
You do, because if people feel good about themselves.
Yeah, we make these kids feel stupid, They come into class and they
now.
can't pay attention, they're drifting around, and you say to the kid, you're not working to your potential, and the kid's trying, as hard as he can, and he can't make it, and he comes to the only logical conclusion, I'm stupid. So,
But he's not stupid.
You fix that stuff up, and the kid, realizes that there was an area of the brain that he needed a little exercise with, and that's it.
I remember the report card of one person that you fixed, and it said, it's really nice to see that this young man is working for a change.
That's right.
Had done nothing, like 10% of what he'd done before.
Yeah.
And just so much more efficiently. When you do that, you do brain brightening for old folks like me, right?
Yes. And for guys like me, too.
Okay. This book, Biofeedback for the Brain, is Paul's latest, and you've got, this is the layman's guide, and you have another one that's a professional guide, and you had a couple of other books out there. There was one on sound health, I remember, and one on the blue book with the cover.
That's right.
In
fact, that's the story we started to talk about earlier before we had the break, because I was working in the area of subliminals when it was very, very unpopular and controversial working in those areas. Professional associations were really giving us a bad time of it. And that's when I discovered the harmonics. I was working with a sound, trying to get the right volume in my laboratory at Ottawa University. And one of my graduate students, who was about, 20 meters away in his office, came out and said, I don't know what's the matter. He said, I just can't stay awake. And it was about 8:30 in the morning, and he said, I slept all right. I don't know what. And we realized that the sound I was working with was subliminal in his office and putting him to sleep.